Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
I'd love to draft a tackle and not worry about where I'm going to move him to because he's going to succeed a freaking tackle.
And Brandon Schultz.
Is Steve Keim the Brian Williams of general managers? I say yes. And for that, do better.
Go Hawks!
On a quest to own the West, yippee-ki-yay, we make the ground shake. On game day, 12 man, yeah, feeling it is vital.
Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz, member of the Military Seahawkers. Joining me, my good buddy, member of the Montana Seahawkers, Adam Emmert.
Brandon, it is a rainy, cold day here in Missoula, Montana. But I'll tell you what, it is a beautiful day to be doing the podcast today with you. I'm fired up today.
Fired up, coming off a win, a 27-17 win over the New York Jets. You know, Adam, thank goodness they blew up that old Giants stadium a few years back, because now the Seahawks, they can continue their undefeated run in MetLife Stadium. I talked about last week how the Seahawks hadn't beaten the Jets on the road since they moved to East Rutherford in 1984. And was looking at their record against the Giants, too. The Seahawks won one game there way back in 1983 in the old Giant Stadium. So thank goodness those two teams took down that stadium and gave us this one that the Seahawks now perform so well in.
Well, Brandon, they might as well rename that stadium Clink East, because especially with the record and then couple that with how loud Seahawks fans are in that stadium. I mean, it's basically Clink East. It's fantastic. It's a home sweet MetLife.
It was, and Russell Wilson doesn't mind playing there either, because on one leg, or maybe even zero legs, Adam, was he out there with zero legs? He was definitely hobbled, but throws for 309 yards, 3 touchdowns. Out of his 78 career games for Russell Wilson, that was a top 10 performance by all accounts, and he did it while he was hurt. A huge game by Russell Wilson.
Huge game by Russell Wilson. Huge game by Jimmy Graham. Huge game by Doug Baldwin. Huge game by the defense. Man, there's a lot to unpack in this.
Richard Sherman, you can't leave him out too either.
Well, I said the defense. He plays on that, right?
It's true.
No, I'm not trying to leave out Richard. Richard Sherman did have a huge, but he had an up and down day.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like that was like
down and up if you want to go in the proper order.
Oh, well, okay, fine then. You're right. Down and then up. It's better to finish on an up, no doubt.
But we have a ton of credit to give to guys in this game. We'll give you a little bit of a preview of the bye week, talk a little bit about how the Seahawks have performed on bye weeks. And we're going to save the Falcons news for next week, and we can preview that game. But Adam, the Falcons, another win. They go to 3-1. But let's get into this game against the Jets. The Seahawks come away with a win, go to 3-1 in the bye week. And Russell Wilson, just MVP type performance, a nearly perfect quarterback rating, 300 yards on the day. You don't see Russell Wilson throw for 300 yards all too often. Just incredible performance.
Well, this is a great place to start. Obviously, Russell Wilson may be the most popular player on the entire team. He really did have an MVP-worthy caliber performance here. You hit it right on the head. I think you texted me earlier in the week and was like, is this kind of like the Jordan flu game? And it similar, just maybe not quite to that level, mainly just because it's not the finals or the Super Bowl. I think that, or even a playoff game. But still, really a gutty performance. One that captured the soul and the heart of John Lynch. He was very excited about Russell Wilson for the entire game. I mean, just talking about his toughness. But really, this kind of showed you how Russell Wilson-centric this team is now. I mean, everybody talked about it being Beast Mode's team for a number of years. And I think even that wasn't entirely true. I think they really played off one another more so than it was just Marshawn's team or Russell's team. But it truly, really is now Russell's team, because we didn't run the ball really much at all in this game, yet still just marched up and down the field like it was nothing. And basically all he needs to be that guy is just a second or two. That's all he needs, even on bum wheels. All he needs is a second or two. And guess what, Brandon? The offensive line gave it to him. with a fair amount of consistency. Color me just flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, Justin Britt, one of the top graded players on that offensive line, and having a Fetty there next to him, and the toughness of Glowinski too. We saw one of Glowinski's best games, and having it's exciting to see what we can get out of this team with a strong interior line, and plus with Russell Wilson getting rid of the ball faster than maybe he has ever had before. I saw a stat that he's getting rid of it in under 2.5 seconds. That's Tom Brady gets rid of it about that quick too, and you saw when Peyton Manning was having his success, he's getting rid of the ball quickly. So yes, when you don't have a whole lot of time, you want to get rid of the ball quickly. But when you can do that and throw for 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, have 130 plus quarterback rating, this was his 6th all-time regular season game in terms of yards with 309 yards. So that's just to have all that come together and to be able to see what he can do when he doesn't have to get outside the pocket at all, and actually maybe even step up in the pocket in many cases.
Well, I think that speaks exactly to your point about Fetty, Glowinski, and Britt playing well in the middle, is that even when the pressure comes off the edge around Sal or Gilliam, he has somewhere to go, and he can just hitch up into the pocket because the protection up front has been in the middle has been very solid, or at least was in this game against a really monstrous defensive line, giving him just that little bit of time he needs to be able to pick a defense apart. And like you mentioned, getting the ball off or getting off in 2.37 seconds. One of the few times you'll ever hear a guy being proud of getting it off in 2.37 seconds. But he really is. And it's in that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning range where have the defense dissected before they even get the ball. They know exactly where they're going. And if that somehow didn't work out, they know exactly where they're going next, and boom, 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 right through the progressions like it's nothing. And you saw Russell changing the plays a lot throughout the game as well. I think Darrell Bevell called a heck of a game, and we'll talk more about that. But when the initial call didn't seem to be the right one, Russ really did just command the protections up front, command the entire game. I mean, he really controlled the entire game. I mean, it was a maestro performance. It's, you know what it is? And dare I say, Brandon, it's an elite quarterback level performance. Elite.
Well, that goes right into this email from Russ in Denver. Says, hi, guys. At this point, the Russell Wilson detractors can eat catfish. He is an elite quarterback in this league. End of discussion. This team is looking pretty good right now heading into the bye week. The O-line is playing good enough. Jimmy Graham is finally becoming as good as advertised, and the defense is playing lights out. Kristen Michael continues to impress, and Spiller had a solid debut. It will be tough for Rawls to get back in the lineup once he's healthy. Go Hawks, from Russ.
Hey, Russ. Well, yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. It was a elite performance. I don't know. Yeah, Kristen Michael does look really good. It'll be interesting to see how the carries are divvied up once Rawls is healthy. He's going to have to show out, that's for sure, to get his job back. I mean, it is all about competition, and health is a talent. It's a part of talent, and Rawls hasn't been able to get healthy. And it may cost him his job when it's all said and done.
Well, and I'm happy just as long as this team looks strong, but I think Rawls is going to add that extra element of toughness. And going back to what you said about this being Russell Wilson's team now, Adam, a lot of that was attributed to Marshawn Lynch and his toughness ability, right? And now we see Russell Wilson go out there after being injured in week 1, bounce right back and play in the game. Have a sprained MCL, bounce right back, play in the game. And so now when the players see Russell Wilson, they can see him. He has that level of toughness now that maybe players didn't quite see in him in the past.
Well, I think they saw it in him in the past. I mean, I think he's played through a lot of things that we'll never know about over his first few seasons. But this really does solidify it, at least in the public eye. I think the team has always known. Really, because he's a super tough guy. I mean, there's no two ways about it. You play with a partially torn MCL and a high ankle sprain. I mean, how many guys have you heard that are out with high ankle sprains for like 5 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, don't even see the field, and yet somehow doesn't miss even a practice rep. Now, just think about that for a minute. Not that he didn't miss a game. We're talking about practice. And he hasn't missed even a practice rep. Not a game, practice. And I think that's what's really amazing about his story and the way that he recovered and the way that he attacks rehab, which is an odd sentence, right? To say the way a guy attacks rehab, but he really does. He goes after it with a full fervor, even bringing in a guy to live with him and Ciara in their mansion, in Seattle. I'm sure that was a tough gig for that physical therapist. I'm sure he's like, oh, I guess I have to stay in the East Wing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. But just phenomenal toughness, preparation, all of it from Russell Wilson. And it is what makes him the leader of this team at this point.
Well, I think we found a new segment for you, Adam, because a week or so back you said it was time for the Seahawks to stop zone blocking. They came out and against the 49ers had a great showing in the run blocking game. And then last week you had your call to Coach Carroll saying to sit Russell Wilson. Wilson comes out, has a great game. Now we need to find what's next for you to pick on that the Seahawks can turn around and improve the following week just to prove you wrong.
Look, this Seahawks team is never going to get turnovers on a consistent basis. It's just not going to happen. These interceptions, they can't, this isn't sustainable. The pass rush, I know they got a couple this time. I'm just not a believer. They're going to have to do better. I mean, honestly. So the defense, it's just going to have to step it up. I don't see it happening. Something needs to happen. Fire Chris Richard, because this is unacceptable. We need to figure it out.
You can go after the special teams coach next. John Ryan just not getting it consistently inside the 10-yard line.
Inside the 10. I mean, I know inside the 20. I mean, that's so great and all, but getting it into the 13 or so, that's fine. But man, get it inside the 10. And I don't know that it's in him. I don't. I just maybe find a new punter.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm just going to reverse jinx everything that I want to happen. That's the new segment. Adam's reverse jinxes.
Well, we talked about Russell Wilson and how great he was this past weekend, but he couldn't have got there without the receivers. Really, Jimmy Graham, Doug Baldwin, guys catching everything that went their way, including Jimmy Graham getting things kicked off with a nice one-handed grab.
Quick throw near side, reaching back, one-handed catch on the near sidelines is Jimmy Graham. He had 5'11" Marcus Williams on him, no contest there, but the back shoulder throw ended up being a back one-handed reception by Jimmy Graham and a gain of 17.
So many great throws to Graham where Wilson just puts it right on the money, and Graham comes away 6 catches, 113 yards, goes back-to-back 100-yard games.
Not just back-to-back 100-yard games, but back-to-back spectacular 100-yard games. I mean, how many contested catches? How many twisting and turning catches? How many that's the beast. That's the guy you traded a first-round pick and Max Unger for. That's exactly what you were hoping for, was that sort of dominance. And he's back, man. And look, he took some hits in this game, too, where if he had any questions about the knee, it's gone now. Mm-hmm. He's fully back, he's fully healthy, and he's there mentally, too. He believes in the knee. And that's the biggest part of getting back fully. The chemistry between him and Russell is off the charts. And look, he is just an uber talented guy. That one-handed catch, woo! I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. That was off the charts. I mean, and you combine that with Doug Baldwin just lighting up the world. I mean, it's unbelievable. And just wait until Tyler Lockett's PCL heals, and you've got another weapon there.
Right. Good
luck and good night. The rest of the NFL doesn't stand a chance.
Now, it's crazy to me to think that about this time last year, we were talking about how Tyler Lockett's toughness seemed like he had more toughness in him than Jimmy Graham. And now to see the type of pounding that Graham's taken, and he's now the number 2 tight end in receiving yards behind Greg Olsen of the Panthers. And to have weapons like that, including Doug Baldwin, you mentioned him, and talking about toughness, 38-yard catch where Russell Wilson steps up into the pocket and just delivers a strike right down the middle of the field.
Russell out of the shotgun play fake, steps up in the pocket. Now he's going to throw down the middle. Got a man, Baldwin! Does he hang on? He does! Doug Baldwin flags all over the place as Baldwin was hammered as he caught the ball, a defenseless receiver. That's going to be a huge penalty, half the distance to the goal, but how Doug Baldwin hung on down at the 10-yard line, I have no idea.
You talk about team toughness. That's identified on that entire play, because not only did Doug Baldwin get rocked when he caught the ball and then held on to the ball. Like, bless his heart, I don't know how you do that. But Russell Wilson got planted after he let that ball go. I mean, he just got drilled and just bounced right back up. It's fine. It's no big deal. I'm Russell Wilson. I'm you know what it is? He's a robot. Like, that's how he is able to play. They just went in there, they greased up the knee a little bit and was like, get back out there. He's like, yes, I will. Throw touchdowns, you know. Like, that's it. That's how he did it.
It's the only explanation. And that play to Baldwin right there led to C.J. Spiller getting his first touchdown as a member with the Seahawks.
Russell looks left first. Now he scrambles. Now he throws to the end zone. Touchdown! Seahawks! Welcome Mr. Spiller to the great Pacific Northwest. A member of the Hawks, and he catches his first touchdown pass as a Seahawk. An 8-yard strike from Russell Wilson to the back edge of the end zone.
And the Seahawks didn't get any points in the first quarter, but once the second quarter kicked around, because after the first quarter, and they didn't have the ball a whole lot, but you started thinking, okay, is this going to be one of those slow starts? But then you had the catch to Graham, one-handed catch. You had that catch by Baldwin, and then to get the touchdown by Spiller. That they were moving.
90-odd some yards. I believe it was in 5 plays on that drive.
Yeah.
I know they had one drive that was over 90 yards in 5 plays, but I believe it was that one. And really, to speak to Russell Wilson's greatness yet again, because let's not stop, basically on that C.J. Spiller touchdown, Spiller starts out, and when they break the huddle, he's out on the right side of the formation.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson calls him back in, puts him on the left side of him in the shotgun, explains to him what he wants to do. Spiller then runs an option route on that, and Russell was able to recognize what C.J. Spiller was doing, a guy that's been there for a cup of coffee, like so far, and then thread the needle off of his back foot between 2 defenders and throw a touchdown to the guy. Unfreaking believable. That's greatness. That is absolute greatness. Pete Briscoe, did you hear me? That's absolute greatness.
Yeah. Wilson, good, not great, right? And that bears out in his numbers too. The Jets, they had a solid defensive strategy against Wilson. Out of 35 dropbacks, they blitzed Wilson 20 times. And that just goes to show you the Seahawks' ability to pick that up. Out of the 20 times he was blitzed, his quarterback rating was over 100. He did take 2 sacks, but threw for an average of 8.7 yards per attempt. That's huge. 148 yards overall, and had 76% completion percentage when being blitzed.
That's incredible. That is grace under fire. Then should we be surprised? Look at some of Russell Wilson's greatest games. They've been against Todd Bowles' defenses.
Yeah.
When he was down in Arizona. I mean, Russ has lit him on fire more than once. I think the other thing Todd Bowles needs to address is the fact that he is suffering from a severe case of Jim Caldwell face. Like, he really is. Like, that needs to be addressed. I'm concerned if he's even alive.
He has resting Caldwell face, huh?
He does. It's a problem for that whole team. That's why Fitzpatrick keeps throwing picks. He can't tell if the coach likes it or doesn't.
Show me some emotion, coach. I need to know if you like what I'm doing or not.
Yeah, it's like when you're a kid and you're acting out to try to get some attention from your parent, that doesn't seem to like. Well, even if it's bad attention at that point, you're going to try to get it just to get a reaction, just to see if they still care, if there's any passion there.
So you're saying that Todd Bowles had about the same expression on his face when Brandon Marshall got the touchdown as when Tanner McAvoy caught his first NFL pass and his first NFL touchdown on the same play.
Alex Collins is the tailback. Play fake to him. Russell steps up in the pocket, has time. Going to lay it out to Tanner McAvoy. Wide open. 10-5. Touchdown, Seahawks. As the Seahawks receivers sprint to the back corner of the end zone to congratulate the rookie out of Wisconsin who ran all by himself. His first career touchdown. The Seahawks go out on top 13-3.
And our own Clinton Bonner, who writes the 3 In, 3 Out blog, was at that game. He attended. So pretty cool. I mean, I hope he touches on that a bit in his piece this week. I have yet to see it. But we talking to him last night, it sounded like that was a pretty neat experience.
Yeah, he was there handing out stickers before the game to everybody in the parking lot. Ran into members of the McAvoy family. So very cool that they were there and got to see him catch that touchdown. But the Seattle goes up on the Jets 14-3. The Jets do come back right at the end of the half, get that touchdown to Brandon Marshall that he scores on Richard Sherman. You mentioned earlier Sherman had kind of an up and down day, but that maybe that's one of the things that helped Richard Sherman get motivated for the second half.
That's true. He definitely got much more motivated in the second half. I think they did make a few adjustments as well. I think basically just looking at a little bit of the tape, they were able to tell Richard, hey, they're going back shoulder pretty much every time. And he's like, oh, right, of course. And then he was able to lock down a little bit. But Sherman should have never even been in the position to have to give up that touchdown at the end of the half, because the fact that they gave Matt Forte a first down on 3rd and 2, that he was clearly at least a half a yard short, was a bunch of catfish, man. That was garbage.
Yeah, there were a couple calls in this game, and that was one of them where it was inside 2 minutes too, so that had the ability to be reviewed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just let's just let him go, even though it was close. But Forte comes up short, and then they end up driving down the field for the touchdown. Was
that the same drive that Fitzpatrick dodged 5 dudes, or was that the previous drive that he did that and then still completed it? And then Marsh got called for the unnecessary roughness?
Yeah, that might have been the same drive, actually.
God, you know what? I threw the lucky hat all the way across the room into the wall as hard as I could when that play went down. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not Houdini.
No.
Okay? He's not even a garden gnome, even though the beard makes him look a little like it. He's not magic. He's not Fitzmagic anymore. He's Fitzpatrick.
Pickpatrick.
Yeah, Pickpatrick. So that was maddening. There were so many plays like that in this game, including the sack fumble by Averill that gets run in for a touchdown. Man, the Jets had every lucky thing that they could go their way, plus some really horrendous calls against the Seahawks along the way, particularly defensive pass interference, and yet still got trounced in this game.
Well, let's talk about that, because that perhaps was my favorite moment of the entire game, as Richard Sherman was called for defensive pass interference when it clearly looked like Brandon Marshall pushed him off. I don't think anybody in the world expected the refs to come back and call that penalty on Sherman the way that Marshall pushed him off. And then on the very next play.
Man, oh man. Richard Sherman, now he's angry. Now they're going to throw one his direction. He's going to get a pick six. You watch. Fitzpatrick takes the shotgun snap. 4-man rush. He's going to throw left again. And Sherman picks it off right in front of Brandon Marshall. That's right. Go back one more time and try number 25. You don't make that man angry. The Seahawks get the ball at their own 38-yard line.
Man, does he wear a turban with a gem in the middle of it now and sit in a yoga pose and just predict the future now? Is that what Steve Rabel does these days?
Pretty much.
Because I had internet issues in the third quarter and so missed a lot of it, but was able to listen to it. And I heard the Rabel call live and it blew me away. I about busted a gut just the way that started because of his disbelief on the pass interference call. Just the way he started that call. Man, oh man. I mean, just legitimately bummed that that could have possibly happened in this league.
Yeah.
John Lynch and Burkhart, they were beside themselves up in the booth talking about that pass interference call. But Sherman gets his revenge. And look, he did have an up and down game. I feel like when you look at that Brandon Marshall Sherman matchup, at the end of the day, I think you look at that and you just say draw. That was a draw between the two of them. And look, you're doing your job at that point then I know Sherman talked about him being a Hall of Famer many times in Brandon Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he has a shot to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know that he is a lock to be, but he's a hell of a player.
Oh, yeah. He's a great wide receiver, a top 10 for sure. And, it's coming toward the end of his career maybe, but he's had a lot of good years, still one of the better receivers out there. So
he's a great player. He's a guy that's done it everywhere he's been, whether it's been in Miami or in Denver or in Chicago and now at the Jets. And think about the quarterbacks that he's played with too, like Cutler twice. And what was it Pennington when he was in Miami? Or is it Matt Moore maybe? Yeah. I mean, he just
might have been Pennington. I know Moore was kind of the backup for a while, but
yeah, he started for a season or two there.
Yeah, Cutler's the best quarterback that he's played for.
Right. That tells you everything you need to know right there. So, yeah, a great player and two great players going up. It was a great battle. It was fun to watch. There's no doubt about it. I think the other corner I want to talk a little bit about, Brandon, is Deshaun Shedd.
Oh, he had a great game too. He was the top. He got the top defensive grade among all the players, according to Pro Football Focus.
Oh, no kidding! I hadn't seen that. Well, that verifies what I kind of saw at the eyeball test. I mean, he was everywhere with great coverage for the most part. I mean, he really did stick to receivers. His open field tackling was amazing. He had one great tackle on a little swing route out of the backfield to the right side, and just came up and made the tackle. Broke up a deep pass to the rookie Anderson, where he had to keep fighting until they were going all the way to the ground to break it up and that sort of thing. And that's why he's a captain. That's who he is. He's a heck of a ball player. And you combine that with Jeremy Lane, who played a pretty darn good game himself for the most part. The couple things that he gave up, I mean, he kind of slipped here and there. But talk about bad calls. One of the other pass interference calls was one against him where, I don't know, maybe he coughed on the receiver. I don't know what happened there to draw the flag, but it was a joke show.
Yeah, no, and you talk about Shedd's game. It's his ability, well, and the Jets not having Eric Decker out there, definitely limited in terms of receivers. But Deshaun Shedd's ability then to go one-on-one with receivers, that allows the team to do things like have somebody on the backside of Sherman, because on the first interception by Sherman on Marshall, the reason why he stopped and was able to go after the back shoulder throw is because he had Cam Chancellor over the top and able to take on Brandon Marshall had that pass not been a back shoulder throw. So they had that play covered to the point that allowed Sherman to go for the interception.
That's true. I heard I read an article earlier this morning, and I wish I could attribute it. I wish I could remember who wrote it, but it was pretty funny. It's like, basically, the Jets' offense is back shoulder throws and then dump offs to backs. That's their entire offense these days.
Yeah, well, they did that. They did a lot of that in this game against the Seahawks.
Well, that's because they're not using the full potential and talents of the future Hall of Famer of Enunwa. Like, I mean, you heard
John Lynch loves Quincy Enunwa.
I thought he was going to take a knee and propose, like maybe at halftime. He loves him some Quincy Enunwa. Man, that was hilarious.
And he's
a nice player.
Yeah, he's a nice player. Yeah, for sure.
But holy smokes, man.
Yeah. But
what can't Quincy Enunwa do? I mean, can he also leap buildings in a single bound? Like, what else? I mean, does he save puppies from burning buildings as well? Like, what else? What else can't he do? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you saw the Jets use him all over, too. They had him lined up at H-back in the backfield, at tight end, out wide. So he's a guy that you can move all over. I can see why he's a player that you'd like. But, yeah, John Lynch, clearly, he was all about Enunwa throughout that game.
I think that was the guy that he picked up in film study and was like, all right, this is going to be my fill-in guy that for filler time. Like, I can go ahead and do that. Well, Sherman had two picks, but let us not forget Area 29 was invaded, and Earl Thomas came through.
Patrick standing on his own 5. Seattle rushes 4. The ball is tipped up in the air, and it's intercepted by Earl Thomas on the 20-yard line. A diving interception by Deuce. They're going to call it an interception. He makes the dive, got his arms under it, and for Earl Thomas, the pick stands, and the Seahawks have the ball in great scoring position one more time.
Yeah, for the Seahawks to finish with 3 picks. And you had a third one to Sherman where he was on the ground that just barely bounced as it got to him. And then Earl had the one earlier that went right through his arms that could have been a pick 6. For him to get that, it was nice to see him at least get one after missing the one earlier on.
Oh, for sure. He definitely should have had that other one there. But he played a much more solid game. We've yet to see the Earl Thomas impact game where he really takes over. That's because it's coming in 2 weeks. That's going to be the game where Earl Thomas puts his stamp on a game. And we'll talk more about that next week, but that's something that I feel pretty strongly about. But he needs to rethink the nickname Deuce. I I'm just not sure that's one you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your nickname might as well be number 2.
Right. And you don't want that.
No.
Although, can we start using the poop emoji for Earl then as a nickname?
No.
Or
Can I go on a 3-second tangent just for 1 second? I was walking through Walmart yesterday, and I walked through the furniture section on my way to electronics. And basically, on the couches, there were giant floor pillows in the shapes of emojis, and one of them was the stupid poop emoji. This is out of control. There's something seriously. Our culture's sick. This is next presidential debate. I want that to be the first question posed to the candidates. What are we going to do about emoji-shaped floor pillows, especially the poop emoji? This is out of control.
Number one question Adam wants to addressed by our political leaders. What are we going to do about the poop emoji?
They need to be removed somehow. I don't know if it needs to be military force. I don't know how we need to get this done, whether it's sanctions against the manufacturers or, maybe a tax penalty to anybody who buys one. There's got to be a way to get this done.
That's why the FBI wanted the back door into the Apple phones, is so they could reverse engineer it and remove the poop emoji.
See, I was initially against the FBI on this ruling, but now knowing their true motivation, I'm in. Well, let's talk about another section of the Seahawks team that was truly motivated this week, and that was the defensive line, coming up with 4 sacks overall. I mean, there was one for Bobby Wagner where he came right up the gut, like looped around on a blitz, and just crushed Ryan Fitzpatrick. That was awesome.
Fitzpatrick steps up, and now he goes down on the blitz by Bobby Wagner. The 3rd sack of the day for the Seahawks, and Wagner is the man that gets in there and buries Fitzpatrick all the way back to the 19-yard line.
Yeah, Rabel didn't even have time to set it up on that one. That's how quickly Wagner got in the backfield. And you said defensive line, the whole front 7, right? Because KJ Wright had one. He was the first guy to sack Fitzpatrick on Sunday. And how about this, Adam? The 2 of the guys that we started out this Hawk Mojo thing in the last show, and it worked for Sherman, got 2 picks, almost had that 3rd. KJ Wright, 6 tackles, was the first guy to get to Fitzpatrick. No touchdowns by tight ends, not even a single catch by a tight end. And I'm just saying,
I haven't been talking about that for a reason.
Just saying,
for 4 weeks. I'm just let's not talk about the fact that tight ends haven't been a problem.
Hawk Mojo though, 2 for 2, Adam.
That's true. You're gonna have to come up with more Hawk Mojo clips to give Mojo to specific players. So I don't know if you had something worked up this week as well, but
I got one. See. I got one.
You got one. All right. But yeah, the tight end thing. It was going to be the position that shall not be talked about when it comes to us covering it. But let's talk a little bit about it, because they're doing an excellent job with it. And really, it's been, to me, there's been a few things they do. They've been passing off tight ends better between the linebackers, especially in the intermediate routes and stuff. But to me, it's really been an improvement on Cam Chancellor's part this year. Really, the holdout, I think, affected him last year. And you see him at full throttle this year. This is vintage Cam this year. And Jared loves to razz me and say, oh, Cam's done. Like all through the first game that he played in the preseason, I think it was the 4th preseason game. Mm-hmm. And Jared's like, oh, Cam looks slow out there. I'm like, first preseason game, he's just getting back. Like, just relax, simmer down. Cam is playing at a high level, and I think that speaks a lot to why tight ends haven't had a lot of success. And maybe it helps that the Jets are the worst team in the league when it comes to targeting tight ends.
Considering their best tight end is Kellen Davis, the dude that was with the Seahawks, and his most memorable play was when the football bounced off his helmet and into the hands of Derek Coleman for a touchdown.
Right. Exactly. So, but it really has been spectacular. It was cool to see Cliff Averill get a sack, even if it did result in a touchdown.
Right? Oh, that play, man. That is one of the weirdest. Although the one positive thing that resulted from that was Earl Thomas on the TV copy and the audio. His arm was going forward.
That was great. That was absolutely great. And that just gives you a sense of Earl too. That was really fun.
Always out there competing, right?
Always compete. You bet.
But yeah, going back to the defensive line, the one thing that I wanted to mention, Michael Bennett took a shot from Jets guard Brian Winters, and it was kind of a cheap shot. Well, it was a cheap shot. And Winters got flagged for it, so that was nice. And the other thing was he got a shot of karma for it too, because Brian Winters concussed himself on that shot to Bennett's head and never came back in.
Nope, and still in concussion protocol, so that's what you get. So a lot of people, they're so dirty, and you heard everybody talking about how dirty the Jets played up front and all that. Look, I'm pretty sure that you couldn't put a halo around Michael Bennett's head for the game as well. I mean, there's the line play is inherently dirty. That's what it is. I mean, it's gigantic dudes with bad attitudes going after one another, and it's going to be dirty. I mean, look, you saw Fetty blocking people well after the whistle.
Sure.
I mean, it was dirty all the way around. And look, it's football. I mean, the guy clinked helmets with Bennett. Probably sound like turtles.
Catfish!
It's clunk. I mean, not a big deal.
Seems to me that's how Bennett would probably describe it too. That's always on his mind.
Yeah. No, the only reason that phrase comes to mind is first day in the mill working, banged hard hats, and that's the way my dad described it. And that was scarring. to hear that come
you don't want to hear that come from your dad.
No, I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that going back to that play where Fitzpatrick fumbled it, 15 more seconds off the clock, and they're inside the 2-minute warning, and the ball comes back to where Fitzpatrick let go of the football. That's just kind of kooky how the timing of that play worked out. And
because you can't advance a fumble within 2 minutes,
right?
If you're on offense.
But outside 2 minutes, it's fine. And it was 2 minutes 15 seconds when that particular play happened. So I don't know. Kind of a weird
what shocked
rule.
me is that so many Seahawks gave up on the play.
Yeah. Well, and you could hear the impassioned plea for exactly why Earl gave up.
Right.
Because his arm was going forward.
Yeah, except for it wasn't.
Well, I mean, physics kind of tells you that if the ball is bouncing forward, that his arm may have been also going forward to give that momentum. But definitely on replay, it was close enough to where his arm was not at the, I don't know, to the point to where they'd call it. They would have called it a fumble.
It wasn't even close. Yeah. His arm wasn't going forward. Look, and I'm pretty sure Earl Thomas didn't have a conversation with Neil deGrasse Tyson about the physics of whether or not your arm is moving forward when he visited recently. So.
Just saying, the laws of physics would have you believe that his arm was moving forward if the ball fall, because otherwise the ball would go backward, right?
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about areas of improvement. We basically have gushed. Maybe let's gush on the offensive line for 1 second.
Yes, yeah. Because how much of a difference did Jermaine Ifedi make on that offensive line? Holy smokes.
He completed it. I mean, he completes us on the offensive line. He really does.
You complete us, Jermaine.
He does. And it was really fun to see. Now, did he have a perfect game?
No. He got beat badly by Wilkerson and got a sack. And
a false start.
Yeah. But a huge difference, though.
It was a huge difference. I'll take that performance over the best I've seen of Jamarcus Webb every day of the week and 3 times on Sunday. I mean, really, it was much, much improved. And look, I think it's time, Brandon. I think it's time for me to confess that I think I'm a Justin Britt fan. We saw a Brittermilk pancake. Where's the pancake stat needs to come in, because the Brittermilk pancake happened in this game at least once. I saw him just lay a dude down. He is playing at an extremely high level at the center position. I mean, I'm stunned, and a fan. I think. I think it's. You mean, do you go out and do you get a Brit jersey now? Is it coming to that point yet? Because getting close
for what we've seen from him through the first quarter of the season. What a turnaround, man! Because talk about guys that just got crushed on the offensive line, right? And the interesting thing is hearing how much his attitude has changed among teammates, right? Because can you imagine if you're the guy on the offensive line week in, week out since your rookie season, if you hear the fan chatter, if you hear the fan chatter at all, you're hearing that you're the worst guy on the offensive line. And then you move to guard and you're hearing that you're the worst guy on the offensive line. And now to be the center and to consistently grade out as the top offensive line week to week to week, and people are changing their minds and going, holy smokes, this guy he's the center we've been looking for all these years since Unger got traded for Jimmy Graham, right? And now he's filling in that role and grading out well on by all accounts and performing well on all accounts. He's the tough guy right there in that middle of the line.
Getting to the second level with such consistency in nastiness, that's something that really impresses me.
Right. And for a zone blocking team, that is very important.
Okay, so I may have been wrong about the zone blocking thing.
I just thought I'd bring it back in.
I may have been wrong.
That's okay. It's okay to be wrong. But see, whereas there are sports writers and analysts out there, Adam, that it can go, years can go by, and they're never willing to admit they're wrong.
Right.
But
it only took me a game or two.
Right.
And I was wrong. So that happens now and then. I mean, don't worry, the earth isn't going to stop spinning or anything. But it does happen now and then. But look, man, Britt, his nastiness, when you pair that with the Fetty, is really, and Glowinski, man. They're some tough hombres up front, and they really are getting it done. And I'm so stupendously impressed with how well he's playing. And not only that, but you talked about his role on the team and his attitude. You know who the first guy was to go down and congratulate CJ Spiller? It was Justin Britt. Tries to pick him up by his shoulder pads, just excited. And look, I don't know if you've looked at Pro Football Focus yet for the offensive line and where they have him graded out. You know how a lot of you may not look at Pro Football Focus, but basically they've got it into a color coded scheme, right? Also by number, but color coded. And basically dark green or like a teal blue is elite, dark green is Pro Bowl, lighter green's above average, yellow is average, and it goes down from there. Justin Britt is light green.
Wow.
He's above average. He's graded above average at his position. That's mind-blowing. Like, that's the same grade they're giving people like, say, Richard Sherman or even Russell Wilson. He's in that same category with those guys at this point.
That's pretty wild.
That's wild. Just let that wash over you. Buttermilk pancakes, baby. Yeah. This guy's crushing. I'm so thrilled that I named my Pick'em League team after this guy this year and that he's had success, because that could have been disaster.
That could have been a disaster for sure.
All right, so speaking of things that are basically out of this world, Brandon, like Justin Britt's performance, I fueled up the spaceship this week because it is time. It's time to take another trip to Prisco's World.
La 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 la, la 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 la, Prisco's World. La 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 la, la 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 la, Prisco's World. Prisco has his hot tastes and nothing more. That's Prisco's World.
Whenever we get a chance, Adam, to take a trip to Prisco's World, I couldn't be happier.
I know. This is maybe your favorite segment of all time. And you're the guy who came up with Better at Life than Skip Bayless. And I think this is your favorite segment. So kudos to you, because it is fun to hear Elmo give us a little rendition of exactly how Prisco's World goes. But, man, he just talk about guys who just can't admit that they're wrong.
No, he can't. And I don't understand how when a quarterback gives you the opportunity week in, week out to prove you wrong, and you still can't admit that you're wrong, there's problems. And so when I saw this from Pete Prisco in his weekly column on CBS, where he kind of runs down each of the teams, right? For Seattle Seahawks, he says, do I think Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson is elite? No. Do I think he's great? No. Is he really good? You bet. Was he great Sunday? Damn right. Wilson, who was playing on a bad ankle and knee, which limited his mobility, was outstanding from the pocket to lead the Seahawks to a 27-17 victory over the New York Jets. I don't understand this.
So let me get this straight, Brandon. He was great, but he's not great.
He was outstanding, but he's not great.
But he's not great or even elite. But, give Prisco some credit because, it used to be he's good, not great. But now, Brandon, he's really good.
We're getting so close, Adam. We're almost because, leave it to Prisco to find, does he go really, really good before he starts calling Russell Wilson great? Or is he like the mannish meta guy who says he's darn good before he calls him great? Because what other modifiers do you put in ahead of good before you can just start calling him a great player?
This is like a guy who's been dating a girl for, say, like 6 months or so, and he likes this girl, but, he's been holding off on dropping the L-bomb, like, for a long time, right? And, he goes from, oh, hey, it was fun hanging out with you, to, hey, I really like you, maybe like, month 3. And now by about month 6, if you don't say something, she's going to start to get irritated. Like, it's time for you to take a... So you try to push it out a little further with, I really like you. No, I really, really like you. I mean, heck, he might as well buy Russell Wilson a promise ring at this point because he really is just pushing off this engagement to understanding that Russell Wilson is indeed an elite quarterback who, I don't know, Brandon, if you heard, is throwing multiple touchdown passes in his career, or multiple touchdown passes in a game for his career through the first 5 years than anybody else ever. Not Joe Montana, not Johnny Unitas, not Fran Tarkenton, nobody. No, not Terry Bradshaw. It's Russell Wilson and nobody else. Not even his love of his life, Aaron freaking Rodgers.
Let me explain that for you just a little bit better. He has 25 career games now with multiple touchdown passes and no interceptions. 25 career games, and that's in his first 5 seasons. So, and like you said, Adam, nobody ever has done that.
Ever. Yeah, in the history since the Big Bang happened and like asteroids started to coalesce and form this Earth, nobody has ever done it. And yet he's just good, not great. Well, I mean, he's just really good.
He's really good, or darn good.
Yeah. Do you think this is just is this just a stick for him at this point? Like, I mean, is that basically where he's at? Or do you think he honestly believes this? Because that's the point to where I am at now. That I don't know if the sky is purple in Prisco world, or if it is blue, or maybe it's green. Maybe it's green, and he's just trying to keep getting them checks by getting more clicks. I don't know. By poking the 12 bear.
What I can tell is that Prisco and that dude Manish clearly not coming off their point. I got an email from Brandon in San Diego.
Yes.
Bringing up the New York Daily News. Says, when I was listening to last show, when you guys were talking about the article in the New York Daily News, and all I could say to that guy is eat catfish. Thanks for the bulletin board material, guy. Hope you enjoyed the beatdown the Jets got. As always, go Hawks. And it leads me to believe that, especially when you get on Pete Carroll's radar, because this article clearly must have been on Coach Carroll's radar because he referenced it, talking about the detractors of Russell Wilson after the game. Sheil Kapadia wrote about it in his ESPN article. I think Manish and Prisco, you can put them in the same category now as like that dude from Bleacher Report that gave the Seahawks, the 2012 Seahawks, an F grade, right?
Is it the same mentality as like still believing that Obama was born in Kenya? Like, yeah, I mean, is it that same where you see all the proof that could possibly be other than a teleportation machine that would take you back in time to watch his birth? Like, is that the last thing that would convince you otherwise on your point? I mean,
that's what I need to be convinced.
Oh, I understand that. I mean, we'll talk about that off air because, birth certificates. But look, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, I feel like it's that same mentality, right? Like no matter how much facts, logic, and reason you're presented with, you can't ever get off your point. And it's just, I think I'm back to just feeling sad for these people.
Because there will never be enough proof. Never.
No, there won't. No. But I believe, stay tuned this week because I think Thursday's the day that I sit down and record our first Seahawkers video extra. that I've been trying to set up some stuff, and we're gonna put out all the proof that you could possibly put out to show that Russell, Carrington, Wilson is an elite quarterback, and not only an elite quarterback, he could be the best in the business today.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I bet you would. You're probably like, finally, you're going to do this? Yeah, Brandon.
One final email before we go to the break. It says, hey guys, Andrew from San Diego here. 3 quick questions, thoughts about the Jets. A couple of these we already got to. What are your thoughts on the return of Ifedi, not only from the talent perspective, but the aggressive attitude that he brings to the O-line? Number 2, is Jimmy Graham back? Is this what we should expect from him on a week-to-week basis? Or are these last 2 games the exception and not the rule? And 3, looking ahead to the Atlanta game, how have the Hawks fared in games after their bye week in the Pete Carroll era? I could look them up myself, but you guys get paid millions of bucks to do this podcast. So thanks.
You bet, man. Raking it in. Although it has gotten closer to the hundreds of dollars with more patrons this week. But interesting questions. I think the idea of Graham putting up this kind of performance week in, week out, those are some lofty goals. I don't know that you can quite sustain that. But he's going to be an integral part, a guy who can make clutch catches week in, week out, no doubt.
But yeah, the big thing I think Andrew wants to know is, now that we're going into the bye week, 3-1, early bye week, and how have Seahawks historically gone about things in the bye week? And we heard Coach Carroll earlier this week talk about what he wants from his players this week, and he wants each player to go into this week as if they are preparing to play on Sunday, and then just have a rest on Sunday. And maybe that's another nice thing about the bye week too, because in the past, we saw Russell Wilson going on his vacation to Hawaii with Ciara on the bye week, and now it's an early bye week. And Carroll made it sound like these guys don't even feel like going on vacation; they're dialed in. Going back to we'll look back to 2015. They had a bye week right in the middle. Like I mentioned, that was when Russell went off and had his little. I don't know if that's not when he got engaged, but the photo session, right? They come back. Because
I know you have a personal photographer follow you around on the beach and take pictures of you while you're on vacation.
Every vacation, right? I don't go on vacation without a personal photographer. I mean,
yeah.
Do you? Does anybody?
No. I mean, I've got 2. So.
Right. And so the Seahawks last year went into the bye week 4-4. They come out. They lose a close one to the Arizona Cardinals, 32-39. That was a home game. Go back to 2014, and they had an early bye week that year. That was week 4 bye week, and going in 2-1 after a win over the Broncos. That was right after the Super Bowl season. So the year that they went and took on New England, came out of the bye week, had to go on the road to play Washington, and they got the win.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the ideas of records in and out of the bye week, I don't know how much I play into that because, look, I just understand the opponent that we have coming outside of this bye week, and that's the exact type of team that I want to be playing coming off a bye. That's the exact type of team.
Going back to the 2013 Super Bowl season, the Seahawks 10-1 going into the bye week, they come out and they take on the New Orleans Saints. And that was a game, remember back to that, with the Saints coming in, and on a Monday night game, I think people were expecting the Saints to put up a good fight against the Seahawks team, and Seattle wiped the floor with them 34-7 coming off the bye. So another good performance.
Was that a high-powered, high-flying offensive team from the NFC South that didn't play much defense?
You might be onto something there, Adam.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking the question.
Then you go back to the last loss, another mid-season bye, Week 11 bye, coming out of that one. That was a loss where in the 2012 season, Russell Wilson's rookie season, where they went on the road to Miami, and that was one that a tight end beat the Seahawks, and they end up getting tying the game up and then kicking a game-winning field goal. But the Seahawks bounced right back and got the win on the road in Chicago. That was Russell Wilson's real breakout game, was the second game after the bye. But so it's kind of 50-50 in Russell Wilson's career.
I would argue that Miami game is part of it. I mean, that throw to Sidney Rice after pirouetting away from, I think it was Tony McDaniel even, that'll be forever seared into my brain.
I can tell. You brought that up a couple times now.
I'm telling you, man, that was the one. Like, I mean, I believed, through the preseason, through the first couple games, but man, that throw right there, that was greatness. That's elite level play, and you saw it even in his first year early on.
And when you go back to Pete Carroll's first season, the Seahawks had a Week 5 bye. They came off the bye, went on the road to Chicago, got a close win, 23-20. And then
Brian Urlacher's career.
Yeah. And 2011 was the year where it was another early-ish bye, and they had Charlie Whitehurst at quarterback, and that was the week they lost to the Browns 6-3. That's another game that's just deeply ingrained in my mind. And Leon Washington had a touchdown return called back in that game. Yep. Seahawks should have won that game 10-6.
Lynch played through back spasms that game. Like, all that. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to think about that anymore. Because that's not this team anymore. No. We're not a 6-3 team. We're apparently,
against
some
the
days
Rams.
we are. We're a 9-3 team some days.
Right.
But I think those days are over, too. I think the way this offensive line has come together, we're definitely more the 20-plus points per game. This Seahawks team, I told you guys, wasn't far away in the Rams game from playing well on offense. This is a team that's going to finish in the top 5 in offensive points per game scoring at the end of the day. They are.
So are you giving us a little preview then, Adam? Are you saying this high-flying... We're going to see what this Falcons team is really made of this week as they go on the road to Denver and take on a tough defense, because from what we've seen from the Falcons so far to this point, yes, their offense, the ability to score points, Matt Ryan throwing for 500-plus yards, Julio Jones 300 yards receiving this last week's game. I mean, it makes you wonder about that offense and if they can be scary, but they haven't played a defense yet to where you can draw a parallel to the Seahawks and say that's a defense on a similar level. But now when they go on the road to Denver, I think we're going to be able to draw that conclusion against a Denver Broncos team.
Look, they're playing in the NFC South where it's defense optional. Like, whether or not you play defense, it's totally optional in the NFC South, and most of them have declined to do it. I mean, these are the opponents so far: Saints, Raiders, Tampa Bay, Carolina. Best defense of that group, Carolina, who gave up their best corner in the offseason and is bleeding on the back end. And they're still giving up, on average, over 25 points per game at this point. They haven't played anybody who even remotely thinks about playing defense. This Falcons team is in for a very rude awakening when they finally play some defensive-minded teams. And they're going to get just smacked down in Denver next week, and it's basically what that's going to do for the Seahawks. It's going to give them a little bit of game tape to look at with an extra week to prepare. Good luck, Falcons. Good luck.
Well, that'll give you a little bit of a preview of what we might talk about, but our tune could change if the Falcons go in and light up that Denver defense. Then maybe we're a little more tentative going into this game, right?
Yeah, that's like saying I'm going to start getting concerned about humanity in our lifespan on Earth when the Earth starts spinning backwards. It's just not going to happen.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, Brandon. Every time a great offense has gone up against a great defense, what happens?
Yeah, defense wins.
Every time for life. That's how it goes. There's no way to say it one other way. Like, it just doesn't happen. I mean, sure, there's been some great offensive teams to win Super Bowls. Last one that I can think of would be, I guess the Saints when they went up against the Colts. Have the Colts ever been known for defense?
Well, a little bit when Bob Sanders was and Dwight Freeney were both on their game.
Sure, but they've never been a defensive juggernaut.
No.
It's always great. So that'll be cool. Well, what do you say we get to the second half of the show?
Let's do it.
Live from New York, well, New Jersey, it's 3 and 3 out. This week's article is a special edition delving deep into what it was like to be there for the dismantling at the Meadowlands. We'll discuss why family matters for the McAvoys, which Seahawk was a giant in the land of the Jets, and how it felt to watch our Hawks put up a fortress versus Forte. Read this week's 3 and 3 out, exclusively written for the Seahawkers podcast.
Thanks to Clinton Bonner. Definitely check out his article this week, Seahawkerspodcast.com/3i30.
That stuff is awesome, man. If you're not reading Clinton Bonner's 3i30, 3 in and 3 out, you're really doing life wrong. Like, this is better for your Seahawks fandom. Check it out.
Well, speaking of things better for your Seahawks fandom, we got a couple donations that came in this week. As we mentioned, the new Hawk Mojo, it brought actual mojo to the field, so I'm feeling pretty strong about this one. Russ Johnson, we had an email from him earlier. We got another 25 in from Russ. So
thanks, Russ.
Welcome to the flock. And here's a little more Sherman Hawk Mojo, hopefully carrying over to that game against Julio Jones coming up against the Falcons.
When I'm the best corner in the game, when you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me. Don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm going to shut it for you real quick. LOB.
The Hawk scream at the end is great. So, yeah, little Hawk Mojo for Russ there. Little Sherman Hawk Mojo. That's cool. Thanks a lot, Russ.
He says, on the quest for 3 shows. Thanks, fellas. We're getting there. We're getting there on our quest for 3 shows. We're still about halfway there, and we've got some other folks helping us get there on the way as well. Welcome to the flock to Man on the Post, Ross of the Pedestrian Podcast, the UK Seahawkers podcast, in with a $3 pledge. He's getting in for our Pick'em League, and another guy in the Pick'em League, Gavin McClendon, $3 pledge. Welcome to the flock, Gavin. And then running down the list, Jeremy Miner, also into the Pick'em League with his pledge of $3. Welcome, Jeremy. And then also getting the bonus show and the sticker, which I will be mailing out soon. Steve Wren, welcome to the flock. And James Costello, welcome. Thanks, everybody, for your donations this week.
Man, we appreciate it so much. I know I say that every week, but it's because we truly appreciate it every week. We're just a couple of dudes doing this for fun. Trying to get to a level to where maybe we can do it more often for you guys, and it would be awesome if we could get to that goal to get to 3 shows. But the 2 weeks ago, I used guilt. Last week, I used praise. Both of those seem to work. So this week, I'm going to use indifference, which is, I mean, if you want to, join up on Patreon and get in the flock, that'd be okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the Seahawks and listening to bonus shows about your favorite team, I mean, you can. Yeah. You'll get it.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't quite get enough of our ridiculousness, that's fine. And I mean, heck, maybe you'd even want a sticker.
Maybe.
I mean, I want a sticker. I've yet to get one. But
I have it in the envelope right here, Adam. Don't act like I didn't put these in the envelope last night.
You know what, Brandon? Right there is not in my hands. Like, it's not. I don't have one on my car. That's 120 miles away.
You're digging me last night and getting another one in on me today. I'm going to the post office today. What more do you want?
Not much. Not much.
That's true.
So I appreciate it.
You don't ask for much.
All right. Well, let's see. I know we had more emails too, correct?
We got some emails. We got a review, and this is normally the part where I get into to talk about how well folks are doing in our Seahawkers podcast Pick'em League, as well as the Patron League. But Adam, one thing I found, us doing the show on a Tuesday afternoon, scores are not yet updated. NFL.com, do better.
What the hell? Are they tabulating the scores with abacus? Like what are they doing here? Like, this should be automatic,
right?
I mean, are we supposed to mail in our correct picks via Pony Express so that they can then tabulate it on an abacus? Is that what they're doing?
That appears to me, because the games are over for the entire weekend, and yet
for like hours upon hours. I mean, we're in the computer age, correct? Like, where they can do thousands upon thousands of calculations in an instant, correct?
Right.
Huh.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I'm no rocket surgeon, but this should be faster.
We need to get those Russian hackers that keep hacking all the politicians' emails and get them to fix this. Hack into the NFL.com database, fix it so the addition works.
That's exactly right, or at least works faster. Now, look, since we can't announce winners, I guess this week, let's talk a little bit about picks though, because there was one game that I felt like a lot of us Seahawks fans had consternation over and just a real difficult time trying to figure out how to root in this game. That was Cardinals versus Rams.
And I think we were all a little bit divided on who we wanted to root for, because on one hand, the Rams, now that they get the win over the Cardinals, they're at 3-1. They're at the top of the NFC West right now. And I think there's some of us that wanted the Seahawks to be at the top of the NFC West. Even if it's this early going into the bye week, it feels nice to be in that number one position. And now, Adam, when I look at the standings, I see the Rams in that number one hole. Then I see the Seahawks. Then I see the 49ers, and all the way at the bottom, and I think this is the reason why people are rooting for the Rams, all the way at the bottom, the Arizona Cardinals.
That pleases me to no end. That makes me so happy, because screw Arians and his smugness. Screw that entire team. Screw Cardinals fans that seem to think that Carson Palmer can be good for another 2 to 3 years. He was done being good in the NFC Championship game last year, and it's carried over to this year. He's not good anymore. Father Time caught him because he runs a faster 40 than Carson Palmer. Look, I had a difficult time at first trying to pick, because I understand you like to see the Seahawks at the top of the rankings, but let's just look at this from a talent perspective. The Cardinals are a more talented roster than the Rams. Long term, they pose a larger threat to us than do the Rams. They just do. And the thing is let the Rams celebrate their Week 4 division championship. Fortunately, they don't give out banners for Week 4 divisional championships. We're going to leave them in the dust soon enough. They'll be exposed. Case Keenum is Case Keenum, and they can't run the ball. Gurley had, 30-odd-some yards against the Cardinals this last week? That team, you can only go so far like this. It reminds me a lot of the Cardinals a number of years back, where they rattled off 5-6 in a row right at the beginning, and it was all defense, no offense. They were putrid. And then just fell apart. That's what's going to happen to the Rams. So I found myself rooting for the Rams, knowing that in the end, it's going to be fun to see all three of those teams, Niners, Rams, Cardinals, multiple games back at the Seahawks at season end.
I think this was the game that really let you know as a fan, where your sports hate was with the most. Which team do you sports hate more than the other? And for me, I found myself rooting for the Cardinals. Because catfish the Rams.
I understand it. I feel that much hatred towards Arians and the Cardinals. Watching Arians' disappointment at the end of that game after the failed Hail Mary from their great, amazing backup plan at quarterback and Drew Stanton, who threw 2 picks promptly. That was awesome. It was awesome to watch his smug little face crumple. God, I hate that guy.
Yeah, we won't see Drew Stanton doing his... Talk about a guy that has been immortalized in GIF form. Drew Stanton for his celebration on the sideline. What a jerk.
Exactly, he is a jerk. Take your little fist-pumping celebration and go throw some more picks then. Why don't you go do that? So, yeah, that was... I think a lot of us had some problems with that. But let's get into a little more feedback from you guys, because I do love the emails. Get in touch with the show. Go Hawks at SeahawkersPodcast.com. Send us your emails. You can tweet at SeahawkersPod. You can get at us on Facebook, Facebook.com/SeahawkersPodcast. I'm getting better at this. And you can also call into the show, which that I don't remember. Brandon's going to have to catch me up on the number here.
253-235-9041. Keith said that he was going to call in today, Keith Kedover, and I haven't seen anything. So either...
Well, I know we had a couple texts. So that's cool. You can also text into the number. Yeah.
Yes, and I had the one from Andrew down in San Diego earlier. So, yes,
fantastic.
Text line does work.
Absolutely. So get in touch with us. We love getting your feedback, love answering your questions. So what's on tap first here, Brandon?
Well, we had a review come in this week from someone we know. The title is Great Show, Even If You Don't Like the Seahawks. And this is from Perfectville. I'm a Dolphins fan, but after being a guest on this show, I haven't been able to say no to this show. The team they root for is awful, but Adam and Brandon are not. Very entertaining show, and at some point, I want to film Adam driving in rush hour traffic in the San Francisco Bay Area just to get his reactions to the stupidity and mayhem going on around him. Great work, guys, from Sam.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. He's a funny dude. Check out his comedy. Check out his Miami Dolphins podcast. It's really great stuff too. I mean, and man, that would be pay-per-view to watch me try to drive in any large city traffic. That would be pay-per-view.
The thing is, Sam, I have actually ridden with Adam in the car in Seattle traffic, which is nowhere near as bad as Bay Area traffic, and really that can be entertaining. Just having him in the passenger seat.
Oh, trust me, it'd go up a few more notches if I was driving. That's for sure.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the entertainment value is already high.
Yeah. Maybe we could make that a Patreon goal. Like we get to X amount a month and
we send Adam to the Bay Area to drive in traffic.
Yep. With a dash cam and like the whole thing. Yeah. Like to drive around the Bay Area for like an hour.
Okay. Well, maybe we make it a Patreon goal for Houston. Because I don't think that's a great place to drive around, and maybe we could do that in February.
Oh, you betcha. I mean, we're going to be there anyway, right?
Right. Yeah, that's my point.
All right, perfect. And thanks for the review, man. We love the reviews. The reviews help with the show because it brings us up in the rankings so that other Seahawks fans can find us. And plus, when other people type in Seahawks podcast, and you get like you guys clearly did at some point, and you look on iTunes and you see all the shows across there. When you see one that has a lot of 5-star ratings, much like you guys have been kind enough to give us, doesn't that kind of make you think, maybe that's the one I should listen to?
Yeah.
So it helps. It's like bait. Help us bait people into getting addicted to this nonsense. So write your reviews, folks.
All right, let's hit some emails. Here's one from Nathan in Bloomfield. It says, hey guys, I attended the Seahawks game this Sunday, and one thing stuck out to me. If you have a recording of the Jets fans at the game, you would need the catfish bleeper a lot. So, also, I have a question about a lucky jersey. A Jets fan sitting behind me spilled a drop of beer on me, quote unquote, accidentally, early, and after that, the Seahawks started to pick up steam. So, should I wash the jersey or not? And if this helps, he says, P.S., I am only 14, so if I wear this jersey in public and someone smelled beer on me, it might not go over well. PPS, Russell Wilson winning forever also means him playing against the Jets and winning there too.
All right. Nathan, you bring up a very interesting conundrum. And I don't know if there's any sort of food product or beverage product, if that ends up on your jersey or your lucky shirt, or your lucky pants, or your lucky hat, whatever it is that is lucky for you with your good Hawk mojo. I'm not sure that is a part of the mojo. I think the mojo sticks with just the garment itself. Now, generally, we don't like to wash out good mojo, but I think the sports gods understand.
Yeah,
the whole smelling like beer and being under 21 thing. I mean, maybe if you lived in Germany or somewhere, I'd be like, dude, don't wash it. But I think here. I think, given your age, I think you can go ahead and wash it, and it's going to be okay. Because you know what? Just wear it against the Falcons in a couple weeks, and the mojo will be baked right back into it real quick. Even though you're not going to be there live like you were at the Jets game, which was awesome. But I think that's how you do that. And furthermore, Brandon, I often forget that we have younger listeners to the show. So I hope the show isn't full of too many catfish sound effects for you too along the way. I'll try to keep that in mind.
Spot wash it. With that's the answer.
That's the answer. You spot wash it. That's exactly it.
Here's one from Jerry Keeney in Houston, Texas. He's got a little bit of a rant here, Adam. He says, first, I won't give you an official do-better for completely blowing my name when covering the new flock members a few weeks ago. It's Keeney, not with an L. No L's silent or otherwise. I get mispronounced all the time, so no biggie. So, Jerry, I want to do this right. Mm-hmm. We'll go back. We'll do the rewind thing. Yeah. Jerry Keeney, welcome to the flock.
Yeah, that sounded nice.
You like that?
Yeah,
I think I nailed it.
I think Jerry will too. Okay.
Second, I would like to propose a new segment for the show. Maybe not every week, but every time someone discovers a new acolyte in the Pete Prisco religion of East Coast bias and hate based not on watching, but at looking at total yards thrown, columnist, writer, aka professional troll, and sends you the information, you can at least add it in right between the do better and better at life than Skip Bayless. Honestly, the Pete Prisco troll cult could be a regular thing as much as brainless writing based on a complete lack of information or knowledge. Let's go with Pete Prisco School of Trolls, although I'm good with another appropriate name. I've spent many years ignoring this clickbait, spammy, troll type of article, but after hearing your mention of the New York Daily News Jet beat writer who tells me to check his bio, bud, after calling him that, and looking up the article, I was struck not by the one-legged Wilson is as useful as a right-handed Zorn troll statement, but by the headline, there's a new elite quarterback in the NFC East, which was written 3 days before the Russell Wilson sucks because he doesn't throw for 5,000 yards article, aka Prisco's playbook, play one. Sure, Carson Wentz has been doing pretty good for a rookie, but is one honestly ready to place him with the upper tier QBs ahead of Russell Wilson? East Coast bias loud and clear, and I am sick of that catfish. Granted, Manish Mehta probably didn't write the headline, but he wrote a one-legged Russell Wilson is as useful as a right-handed Jim Zorn, which basically means Pete Carroll's offense is screwed if the Seahawks quarterback doesn't magically heal in the next few days, as well as the strip away the myth. And here's the unvarnished truth about the Seattle signal caller. He's very good, not great. And he clearly shows he doesn't watch much Seahawk football, which is understandable. I mean, who the hell wants to watch a team over by Alaska when they hunt salmon with nets?
I love that. Hunt salmon. That's great.
But take some professional responsibility. And before you throw your opinion into your New York Daily News spam article, do your catfish homework first. So, for the first nomination as the acolyte in the Pete Prisco School of Trolls, I give you none other than Manish Mehta. He says Manish Mehta of the New York Daily News.
Yeah.
Go freaking Hawks. Feeling slightly better after that rant. Jerry Keeney.
Jerry, that was solid rant. I mean, that was practically a do better all right there. That was from one ranter to another. Well played. Well played. I understand. I kind of like the idea of adding somebody to Pete Prisco's Planet of Trolls. Like, I think that's what we could call it at that point. Because, Manish deserves to immigrate to Planet Prisco. That's for sure.
For sure. Well, with that said, I think it's time to go into some do better.
All right, Braden, why don't you kick us off on do better here?
This week, my do better is for Carolina Panthers running back / fullback Mike Tolbert.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And when I first heard the story, this is a story that's changed a few different times. Mike Tolbert apparently went to go get his car worked on. He was getting the engine swapped out. And he made it sound like this car place was trying to screw him over and didn't like him. And so he went and he paid for his work to be done in coins. And
okay,
which is kind of a jerk move. But, if you're, going into, kind of trying to pull off some passive aggressive move, that can be one way to pay for work, right? Is just paying coins.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out, and I don't know whose story was right in this case, because the car company came back and they said, oh, well, he wanted to get all this work done for free, and essentially saying, I'm Mike Tolbert, do this for free for me. And they're like, no, we actually want to get paid for working on your stuff.
For our services, yes.
And I don't know whose story was right. Conflicting reports. But it sounds like Tolbert did, in fact, try to pay in coins. The only problem, though, Adam, he left all of the coins nicely wrapped just how you would get them from the bank. So all they had to do was take them back to the bank all rolled up and get their money. If you're trying to pull off a passive-aggressive catfish move, you're supposed to get different kinds of coins, pennies, nickels, and dimes, and mix them all up and then pay for the work that way. Tolbert, you're trying to be a jerk and you can't even do it right. Do better.
That is an epic fail at trolling there. Yeah. I mean, how do you not understand that, like, them being pre-rolled and separated, it makes it just as easy to cash them in. I mean, that all spends the same at that point.
Right. Yeah. It's just like taking $1 back to the bank, and because they just run it through the counter, just like, a roll of quarters. They go, oh, well, this is $25.
Yeah. Done and done. That's easy, man. Well, my do better this week is for a guy who has the emotional maturity of a negative 3-year-old, like somebody who hasn't even been born yet. This guy has so little emotional maturity that he is really just unbelievable to me. And that is Odell Beckham Jr. This guy can't hold it together for the life of him. Look, I couldn't have taken more glee when I watched a kicking net kick his ass the previous week when he had a little hissy fit.
That was so good.
On the sidelines. That was amazing. This guy has a meltdown / hissy fit every other game, if not every game. And it really not only makes him look like a total tool, which he is, but it also hurts his team. But the worst part is that he is so unself-aware that he can't even see this. In fact, little Odell is getting treated unfairly, Brandon.
People are laughing at him after he punches a net and it hits him.
Life is hard. Basically, he came out just yesterday after melting down in the Vikings game and getting a personal foul called on him for unsportsmanlike conduct for taunting Xavier Rhodes on the sideline. And basically, this is what he had to say about that. He says, "You have to protect yourself at all times," Beckham told reporters after the loss. "I just got to know where I'm at. I just got to know that it's all against me." It's all against you, Odell. Maybe, just maybe, you brought this on yourself by operating like a total jackass for the entire start of your career. And basically, he feels like the NFL is unfairly targeting him for his meltdowns at this point in his career. I don't see anybody else in the NFL, short of maybe Terrell Owens at one point, behaving in this manner. He is a total, and I'm going to say it, Brandon, because it's what my dad would call him, a crybaby catfish. Yes, that's what he is. And you know what happened to him after he had the penalty? Later on in the third quarter, he dropped the ball on first down, then run a poor route 2 plays later, leading to an interception. The final 6 throws that Manning targeted Beckham on were either incomplete or picked off. He took himself out of the game and hurt his team. So not only is he crybaby, but he's hurting his team while he's doing it. I've got no more patience for this guy. I really sports hate the hell out of him. So Odell Beckham Jr., grow the hell up and do better.
Man, what a contrast between Odell Beckham crying about, the smallest of things, and then you have Doug Baldwin, who's blowing off death threats.
Yeah. Which is what you do when people online say, "I'm going to kill you."
Right.
Okay, then.
But
I'm sure you are, internet tough guy.
How would a guy like Odell Beckham handle something like that?
Well, he'd probably go out and try to punch the guy, slip and fall on his face, and get beat up by the concrete.
Right.
Like, I mean, this guy's a total tool. I can't handle it anymore with him. I mean, when your general manager has to come out and be like, "Yeah, he kind of needs to get this under control." Your head coach says in a press conference, "Yeah, he needs to get this under control." And when your quarterback doesn't even have your back after you say, "It's all against me," when Eli comes out and says, "Yeah, he kind of brings it on himself." Maybe it's time to look in the mirror with your terrible hair coloring. Like, figure it out, dude.
Well, that makes me much happier to get into Better at Life this week, because now that we've brought people down, it's time to bring everybody back up.
Okay.
And this week, my Better at Life is for Tanner McAvoy. Not only was it his first NFL reception and his first NFL touchdown, it was the longest catch of his college and professional career. According to Seahawks.com, his longest catch at the University of Wisconsin was 23 yards. And Adam, it was cool to see the photos from Clinton Bonner with all the Seahawks fans in the parking lot before the game, including members of Tanner's family. So not only was it cool to see him get that touchdown and have that be his first NFL catch, but very cool knowing that his family members were there live to see it happen. And so even though SportsCenter anchors were calling him Tanner McCovey, we will get your name right on the Seahawkers podcast. Tanner McAvoy, better at life than Skip Bayless.
I agree, man. That's hilarious. That is a great story. I mean, that's like something out of Rudy, right? I mean, it's that kind of moment where
undrafted guy makes it in the NFL, and there he is, and his fourth NFL game, his first catch, going for a touchdown. That's a good moment.
All right, man. Well, my better at life and Skip Bayless this week it's more of a moment than any one person. I guess maybe it's for the heckler in this, but I also enjoyed how the people being heckled handled it. I think this is fantastic. So for those of you who don't know, the Ryder Cup went on this weekend, and that's basically when all the European countries, pull their best golfers, Americans pull their best golfers, and they go at it. And they were playing at Hazeltine this last weekend. And basically, Rory McIlroy and another guy named Stenson, I don't know him very well. Okay. They struggled to make a putt during one of their opening rounds during the Ryder Cup. Couldn't make it for the life of them. And a guy from the stands apparently was yelling and heckling them for the fact that they couldn't make what was to him seemingly a simple putt. Well, at that point, he was invited down by the players to go ahead and try to make said putt. So not only does dude walk out on the green, but then Justin Rose goes to make it a little more interesting. He throws down a Benjamin, boom, on the green, $100 bill. Says, you make the putt, this is yours. Right? This is something straight out of freaking Tin Cup when he's goated as being the caddy for his nemesis in the movie. And what's the golfer's name who looked like the walrus? Anyways, says, I'll give you $25 if you knock it on the green or something like that, or $100. This is the same situation. Justin Rhodes smacks down a $100 bill to see if the fan can make the putt. Then what does the fan do? He proceeds to sink the freaking putt, picks up the $100, high fives the foursome, and walks off the course like a boss. I don't know who this dude is, some American fan, but he, in this whole moment, is better at life than Skip Bayless.
What other sport out there could that even come close to happening?
That's just it. You never hear about that. Can you imagine, like, in the middle of an NBA game, like, some guy jacks up a three, Kevin Durant jacks up a three and misses it, and the fan heckles him, and he stops the game, puts down $100 and says, you
come out here and make this shot.
And then he would drain it? Like, that's pretty fun to me. I think that's one of the coolest stories I've ever heard of. And that dude's $100 richer, so congratulations to him.
Don Johnson, that was the guy that played the jerk in Tin Cup.
Yeah, and I think the fan, his last name was Johnson, actually. So that all...
It all comes together.
It all comes together.
All right, well, good note to end the show on this week, Adam.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I enjoyed the show this week. I think this was a little better effort on me this week than last week. I felt a little out of sorts. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure to get in, and if you already support us on Patreon, thank you so much. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. It's the end of the show. You did it. One last quick promo. If you're looking for the best place to get your Seahawks gear, visit Seahawkerspodcast.com/fan. You'll be helping to support the show, and you'll get your authentic Seahawks gear from an official partner of the NFL. Once again, that's Seahawkerspodcast.com/fan. Thanks again for helping to support the show.